Welcome to LeaderOne Live, where we bring the experts to you.
Welcome back, everyone, and Happy New Year. We're here with episode 6 of LeaderOne Live. Our special guest today is Tammy Ebright. She is the founder of Unleash Your Amazing, 30 years in sales and 20 years in the mortgage industry. Tammy is certified in DISC, driving forces, emotional intelligence, acumen, and she's a dedicated student at the BG5 Institute. So welcome, Tammy. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So when I was thinking about, how we wanted to kick off our year with LeaderOne Live, we enter a new year as salespeople and we've got all these new goals. We rededicate ourselves to our sales processes and a lot of those types of things. And one of the most important things that sometimes I think gets set aside is really understanding who you're working with, understanding who your referral partners are, understanding, how to work best with the people on your team. And, we had the opportunity, the roller team last year at LeaderOne, to have you come in and we took the DISC profile. All of us did. I think there was 17 of us. And then we had an in-person workshop with you. And I think it was probably the most valuable get together we had all year because you really got to see how other people think, how other people perceive things. And one of my favorite quotes that you shared was, the golden rule is, do unto others or treat others as you would like to be treated. And you said, if you want to do better than that, treat others as they would like to be treated. And that really stuck with me. So I wanted to bring you on and just to share with us the reasons why you think it's important that this is a focus and how we can use the types of training and tests that you provide in order to identify how to work better with our coworkers and our referral sources.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that there's a big misconception, especially in sales, that there's like one way to do things. But as I've really dug into understanding myself and understanding others, I do realize that each person is unique. We have our unique makeup, but also we have our own experiences. So I think it's very important to understand that, that again, each person is unique, but our perception of somebody else can be wrong.
Right. So an example of that would be and I think this was one that we actually talked about. It's like, if I come in and I'm going to talk to Kevin about something and I know exactly what I want and I want him to give me an answer right now because that's the type of person I am. I want to kind of act on instinct. And he's somebody that wants to really think through things. If he's not giving me an immediate answer, then I'm feeling offended, right? When really he's just going through his process. And it's those types of things that help you to understand and really, get out of your own head.
Yes. Well, I mean, even just beyond DISC, 50% of the population is emotionally defined and they need time to make their decisions. So they need to sleep on their decisions. And so I'm assuming that here almost a year later that you practice that a little bit more with Kevin and you're having more success when you need help?
Yeah, I mean, just throughout the entire team, because, we had, our team was already close and we, did pretty well, but just to have that deeper understanding of the fact that, for instance, and a lot of our audience members probably have heard of the DISC, profile, but someone like me, I'm a high I and, but then there's people that are in sales, on our team that are an S. Right. And so then, you've got to look at that and think, well, your processes and the ways that you're going to, be happy in your role and develop business authentically, that's just going to happen in two very different ways. And that's okay.
Yes. I think what was really cool about how your team is set up is it's very non-traditional to what you would expect in the mortgage business. A lot of times you have your I's that are out there, your I's and your D's out there doing the sales, and you have your S and C's kind of in the background, but that's not really how you guys are set up. So it really made you unique in the way that it is even more important for you guys to understand each other, because it really leads to that synergy that you were looking for, that collaboration that happens when people really connect authentically.
So you were introduced to our team by David Hopper, and tell us about how you met David and your experience. How did you end up with 20 years of mortgage experience, and now you're doing what you're doing today?
Well, how did I? So I actually met David, I think via like LinkedIn. We connected over the years and had several conversations throughout the years. I almost went to LeaderOne to work at one time, but it was in a time that was a really hard time for me. So my mental well-being was not exactly where it needed to be. And so I have been in sales, I've been in operations, training, all in the mortgage business. But I really kind of felt like I was being pushed out of the industry to do something. Like, there's no reason somebody has as many experiences or traumas as I've had if it isn't to then help other people. So I just kind of leaned out into that and took a faith that that's where I was being directed, and it's been really good.
Yeah, congratulations. Unleash Your Amazing is how old now? Been in business
6 years almost.
6 years. Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about, doing a better job of working together as teammates, you also think about in sales, and this is something that it really helped me to see, was that I'm also going to be selling to and working with partners that are different than me. Mm-hmm. And so I can't go into, each of those relationships just in my speed. I've got to try to match energy with the person that I'm working with, because that's going to make them relax and feel comfortable. Is that something that you coach on?
Yes, definitely. I think that once you understand, it all starts with awareness. Once you understand yourself and your tendencies, it gives you more grace for other people and their tendencies. And it makes it easier to connect when you're like, hey, I may have this tendency to just really kind of come in and tell you what I'm thinking, but that's my excitement that I'm bringing to the table. And understand now that I know that I bring this excitement, if I know that you're different, I'm going to approach you in a way that is going to lead to more connection with you.
Yeah. And knowing how to ask the right questions. I think, you have somebody who maybe is a stream of consciousness type of person and thinks in their mind, oh, I've given them all the information that they need, or all the instruction that they need, or, and everything is communication, right? Like, if we can communicate better, it almost solves every single problem. But you taught us how to ask the right questions to somebody who maybe is very, wants to do something exactly right and is completely compliant and wants to follow the rules just exactly as they're laid out. If you didn't say something, they might be feeling trapped, and you should be able to go back to them and say, do you have everything you need from me? Mm-hmm. And these questions that help things just move along so much smoother.
Yeah, because sometimes we have our own little mental conversation in our heads that we don't actually translate out. So we might have thought that we said something, but maybe they didn't hear it in the way that they needed to hear it. So clarifying with people that are different than us, that they did get all the information, that they need to do their job, versus us thinking that we've given them all the information. It's just an extra little step. Hey, do you have everything that you need now that you've had time to kind of think about the project?
Right. So let's talk about like leadership in your experience, and when you're coaching mortgage companies and your clients, what are the biggest challenges and that leaders face, and the things that you probably try to open up in their minds to help them have better communication and get more results from their team?
I think that one of the things to me that really stands out is many times leaders think that people are exactly the same as they are. Well, I would do it this way. Okay, but they're different than you are. So they need to do things in their way to get success. And sometimes it's only about this questioning, like learning how to ask the correct questions. One of the things that's really interesting to me is 70% roughly of the population is what's called a builder or generator type. And they need yes or no questions in order to make decisions. Well, in sales, we're taught to ask open-ended questions, not yes or no questions. And so we're really doing a disservice to some people by not, phrasing it in a way to where they can really get into their body and know how to make the right decision. So I think that just making sure that you're tailoring your communication to each person of your team, that you understand as a leader. And I want to really commend you, because I think that that's one of the things that I really noticed about you in the process when we were working together, is that you read everybody's reports, you really leaned into understanding your team. And I think that that is just very powerful. It's a powerful thing for you to do. And what a gift you're giving them by being committed to understanding them.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And it was like, I pulled up my report before we got on this call, and I just thought, I can't wait to have you back and to do a follow-up session, because this isn't something that you can solve in just, one session. It has to be something that you focus on all the time. Mm-hmm. And I can answer my own question by saying, my question was going to be, where do you start if you're sitting down with somebody? How do you start to identify, how you should best work with them, or what their communication style is? And I know my answer would be, you have to understand emotional intelligence and the DISC and driving forces and all that. So the really best way would be for them to work with you. But in addition to that, just, when you're just sitting across from somebody, maybe you're at a sales meeting, what are the cues that you could pick up on to understand maybe how to match energy?
Mm-hmm. Looking at their body language, to see, are they open or are they a little more closed off? Can you recognize, do they seem more extroverted or do they seem a little more introverted? Are you going to need to have more of that private one-to-one conversation with them, or are they really kind of the life of the group? One of the most interesting things as I'm working on my BG5 certification now is not everybody is meant to work in groups. And I think that all of these years, I always wanted to work in groups and be a part of a group inside the roles that I was in. And I can lead a group, but being inside a group isn't necessarily my strength. There's certain traits that are made for groups. And if you don't have them, you may spend all of your life thinking that, people just don't want to include you, when really it's just you aren't energetically designed to be in small groups.
And it doesn't have to feel bad if you understand yourself, right? That's that self-awareness and understanding, and being like, this is what I am, and that's okay. And that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, yes. Because then, that again, that's the team dynamic where you can understand, that just because somebody isn't thriving in that project or doesn't want to do that event that way because, they don't like to go out and network, in big groups with strangers, doesn't mean someone's not working hard. It doesn't mean somebody's not doing the things that they should be doing. It just means that they're wired differently sometimes.
Yes. And I think that that's one of the things that I really love about your team is how you have such a wide range of people that are working in their zones. That, to me, that really stood out as I had one-to-ones with everybody, is that it was very important to you all as a team that each person was in the right seat. And those seats can look different. People, again, can have success in their own way as long as they have the support from the leadership that they need.
And it can even help in conflict, I find, because if you understand somebody, like, if I get upset about something in a certain way, like it rather than someone feeling like, well, oh, Alice is mad at me, or I feel like, someone else is mad at me, they're thinking, well, that's the way that she's reacting because that's kind of how she's wired. Let's, then you can go back and knowing who that person is, help them to understand where where the disconnect is. It's just really important, especially in mortgage where there's so many moving parts, and there is sales and there's operations and there's clients and there's realtor partners. You really do have to be able to understand how to, operate with a lot of different personalities.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of personalities in the industry for sure.
So if you could maybe just leave us with a couple of tips, or what you think maybe are a couple of the most important things, or where someone would start if they really want to dig into this and focus on it, what would you say?
So it all starts with self-awareness. Emotional intelligence all starts with self-awareness. You have to understand yourself first, where you might have a tendency to get triggered, or maybe even make up stories about, what somebody else is thinking in a certain situation. So that would be the first step, is always about self-awareness. And then being committed to asking questions to your teammates, understanding them better, understanding each person is unique and they're not going to have success in the same way that you're having success, but that's okay, because that's why it's a team, is because you need that other person. Like, some of us might think that we can do everything all by ourselves, and we might do a really good job with that. But if we can bring in the right partners, the right people to help us, then we'll really thrive versus just, have that surface level success. But we could really have higher levels of success when we're able to connect with our coworkers, our partners, our clients. And again, that all starts with understanding ourselves first, and how we can sometimes have a tendency to react versus respond, and then working on that, having more of a response versus a reaction in life.
And Tammy, if we flunk our self-awareness test, is there still hope for us?
Yes, there is.
Improve, right?
So there's no flunking the self-awareness test, but there is tips on how to increase that level. Journaling is a great strategy to understanding yourself and understanding what's going on in a day-to-day basis. If you can keep a little journal there, even when one of the things that I talk about is when you're having a conversation with somebody, be committed to not interrupting them, to hear them out, but you must have paper and pen by you while you're doing that, because when the thought or the question pops into your head, you don't want to lose it. You just need to write it down and be committed to letting somebody really complete their thoughts.
I love it. Well, this is so important and such great information, Tammy. Thank you so much. We'll make sure to have your contact information in the notes so that people can reach out to you if they're interested in learning more about you and Unleash Your Amazing. So thank you so much. And I hope I get to see you very soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody.